என்னை பார்த்து பார்த்து வளர்ப்பதனால் அன்னை என்பதா? உன்னை கடவுள் என்பதா? கருணை வடிவம் என்பதா? உன்னை கடவுள் என்பதா? கருணை வடிவம் என்பதா? ஐயா ஞானதானம் தந்த உன்னை தந்தை என்பதா? உன்னை தெய்வம் என்பதா? குருநாதன் என்பதா? என்னை பார்த்து பார்த்து வளர்ப்பதனால் அன்னை என்பதா? ஐயப்பா சரணம் ஐயப்பா, நீ இருக்கிறாய் அது போதும் ஐயப்பா. சில நேரம் உன்னை நினைக்கும் போது கண் கலங்குதப்பா. உன்னை தெய்வம் என்பதா? குருநாதன் என்பதா? என்னை பார்த்து பார்த்து வளர்ப்பதனால் அன்னை என்பதா?
That was a video Father Jagasodi sent.
This is in Sri Lanka, I think.
No.
I think in India.
It's Hyderabad, AP.
Tracy.
Okay, thank you. So before we begin, we pause to acknowledge that we all live on First Nations people's land. They've always had sovereignty over this land, and we want to pay our respects to their elders in the past and the present, and express our gratitude that they were humble to the Great Spirit and their commissioning to really take care of the land and the waters and all of the life, and had a culture and system which enabled that, which we have been the beneficiaries of, but they have been paying the price. So we want to stand with them and pay our respect. Thank you.
परस्योत्सादनार्थं वा तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् दातव्यमिति यद्दानं दीयतेनुपकारिणे देशे काले च पात्रे च तद्दानं सात्विकं स्मृतम् यत्तु प्रत्युपकारार्थं फलमुद्दिश्य वा पुनः दीयते च परिक्लिष्टं तद्दानं राजसंस्मृतम्
We can't hear. One second, I'll go and check what is happening.
Can you hear?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Brother, let me be your servant. Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I might have the grace to let you be my servant too. We are pilgrims on a journey. We are brothers on the road. We are here to help each other walk the mile and bear the load. I will weep when you are weeping. When you laugh, I'll laugh with you. I will share your joy and sorrow till we've seen this journey through. When we sing to God in heaven, we shall find such harmony. Born of all we've known together, of Christ's love and agony. Brother, let me be your servant. Let me be as Christ to you. Pray that I might have the grace to let you be my servant too.
Is that number one?
One more song.
Okay, sorry.
Can you hear?
No.
Now?
Yes.
I've
I don't know here.
Stay by. They made me beautiful prayers.
Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute. Strive that your actions day by day may be beautiful prayers. Turn towards God and seek always to do that which is right and noble. Enrich the poor, raise the fallen, comfort the sorrowful, bring healing to the sick, reassure the fearful, rescue the oppressed, bring hope to the hopeless, shelter the destitute.
Be generous in prosperity and thankful in adversity. Be worthy of the trust of thy neighbour, and look upon him with a bright and friendly face. Be a treasure to the poor, an admonisher to the rich, an answerer of the cry of the needy, a preserver of the sanctity of thy pledge. Be fair in thy judgment and guarded in thy speech. Be unjust to no man, and show all meekness to all men. Be as a lamp unto them that walk in darkness, a joy to the sorrowful, a sea for the thirsty, a haven for the distressed, an upholder and defender of the victim of oppression. Let integrity and uprightness distinguish all thine acts. Be a home for the stranger, a balm to the suffering, a tower of strength for the fugitive. Be eyes to the blind, and a guiding light unto the feet of the erring. Be an ornament to the countenance of truth, a crown to the brow of fidelity, a pillar of the temple of righteousness, a breath of life to the body of mankind, an ensign of the hosts of justice, a luminary above the horizon of virtue, a dew to the soil of the human heart, an ark on the ocean of knowledge, a sun in the heaven of bounty, a gem on the diadem of wisdom, a shining light in the firmament of thy generation, a fruit upon the tree of humility.
And David said to Solomon his son, be strong and of good courage, and do it. Fear not, nor be dismayed, for the Lord God, even my God, will be with thee. He will not fail thee, nor forsake thee, until thou hast finished all the work for the service of the house of the Lord. And behold, the courses of the priests and the Levites, even they shall be with thee for all the service of the house of God. And there shall be with thee for all manner of workmanship, every willing skillful man, for any manner of service. Also the princes and all the people will be holy at thy commandment. The law, that was from King James Bible, First Chronicles, the law of Mazda will not deliver thee unto pain. Thou art entreated for charity by the whole of the living world, and she is ever standing at thy door in the person of thy brethren. In the faith, beggars are ever standing at the door of the stranger amongst those who beg for bread. This is Endeavor Star.
Beware that there be not a base thought in thy heart, saying, the seventh year, the year of release, is at hand, and thine eye be evil against thy needy brother, and thou give him not, and he cry unto the Lord against thee, and it be in sin in thee. O thou shalt surely give him, and thy heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Lord thy God will bless thee in all thy work, and in all that thou puttest thy hand unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt surely open thy hand unto thy poor and needy brother in thy land. Torah. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not charity, it profit me nothing. Charity suffereth suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not, charity warneth not itself, is not puffed up. 13% of you doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in the iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. King James Bible.
And hold fast all together by the rope which God stretches out for you, and be not divided among yourselves. And remember with gratitude God's favor on you. Thus doth God make his signs clear to you, that you may be guided. Let there arise out of you a band of people inviting to all that is good, enjoining what is right and forbidding what is wrong. They are the ones to attain felicity. Be not like those who are divided among themselves and fall into disputations after receiving clear signs. A man asked the prophet, what sort of deeds or what qualities of Islam are good? The prophet replied, to feed the poor and greet those whom you know and those whom you do not know. And when we took from the children of Israel a covenant, saying, severe you none but God. Serve you none but God. And to your two parents, show kindness, and to your kindred and the orphans and the poor, and speak to men kindly, and be steadfast in prayer, and give alms, and then you turn back, save a few of you, and swerved aside. The Quran. That is because God has revealed the book with truth, and verily those who disagree about book are in a wide decision. Righteousness is not that you turn your faces towards the east or west, but righteousness is one who believes in God and the last day and the angels and the book and the prophets, and who gives wealth for his love to kindred and orphans and the poor and the son of the road, beggars and those in captivity, and who is steadfast in prayer and gives alms, and those who are sure of their covenant when they make a covenant. Quran.
Bounty waits on squalid hunger, gifts dispel the suppliant's fear, gold revives the poor and lowly, mercy wipes the mourner's tear, tender care relieves the stricken by the gracious king's command. Charity with loving sweetness spreads her smile over all the land. The gods have not ordained hunger to be our death. Even the well-fed man comes death in their varied shape. The riches of the liberal never waste away, while he who will not give finds none to the comfort him. The man with the food in the store, who when the needy comes to miserable case, begging for a bread to eat, hardens his heart against him even when of the old he did him service finds not one to comfort him. Bounteous is he who gives unto the beggar who comes to him in want of food and feeble. Let the rich satisfy the poor, and bend his eyes upon a longer pathway. Riches come now to cast are ever rolling. The foolish man wins food with fruitless labor. That food I speak, the truth shall be his ruin. He feeds no man to love him. All guilt is he who eats with the no partaker. The plugging makes the food that feeds us, and with its feet cuts through the path it follows. Vedas, Rig Veda.
It's incumbent upon every man in this day to hold fast unto whatsoever will promote the interests and exalt the station of all nations and just governments. Through each and every one of the verses which the pen of the Most High has revealed, the doors of love and unity have been unlocked and flung open to the face of man. We have erewhile declared, and our word is the truth. Consort with the followers of all religions in a spirit of friendliness and fellowship. Whatsoever has led the children of men to shun one another, and has caused dissensions and divisions amongst them, has, through the revelation of these words, been nullified and abolished. From the heaven of God's will, and for the purpose of ennobling the world of being and of elevating the minds and souls of men, has been sent down that which is the most effective instrument for the education of the whole human race, the highest sense and most perfect expression of whatsoever the peoples of old have either said or written. Written has, through this most potent revelation, been sent down from the heaven of the will of the all-possessing, the ever-abiding God. Of old it has been revealed. Love of one's country is an element of the face of God. The tongue of the grandeur has, however, in the day of his manifestation proclaimed, it's not his to boast who loved this country, but it's his who loved the world.
The purpose of one true God, exalted be his glory, in revealing himself unto men, is to lay bare those gems that lie hidden within the mind of their true and innermost self, that the diverse communions of earth and the manifold system of religious belief should never be allowed to foster the feeling of animosity among men, is in this day of the essence of the faith of God and his religion. These principles and laws, this firmly established and mighty system, have proceeded from one source and are the rays of one light. That they differ one from another is to be attributed to the varying requirements of the ages in which they were promulgated. The utterance of God is a lamp, whose light in these words, ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch. Deal ye one with another with the utmost love and harmony, with friendliness and fellowship. He who in the day star of truth beareth me witness. So powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. The one true God, he who knoweth all things, himself testifieth to the truth of these words.
O children of men, know ye not why we created you all from the same dust, that no one should exalt himself over the other? Ponder at all times in your hearts how ye were created. Since we have created you all from one same substance, it is incumbent on you to be even as one soul, to walk with the same feet, eat with the same mouth, and dwell in the same land, that from your inmost being, by your deeds and actions, the signs of oneness and the essence of detachment may be made manifest. Such is my counsel to you, O concourse of light. Heed ye this counsel, that ye may obtain the fruit of holiness from the tree of wondrous glory. The well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. This unity can never be achieved so long as the counsels which the pen of the Most High had revealed are suffered to pass unheeded. Baha'u'llah.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence, they are all thy servants, and all mankind is sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy promised providence. O God, thou art kind to all. Thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, conferrest life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that we may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind.
Thank you all, friends. That concludes our devotional prayer part. And now we will go on to the special part where we have every week a speaker to talk about some topic that they are passionate about, and that is good for our unity. And for the first time, we have a friend from my motherland, Sri Lanka, and that is Prabu, Dr. Prabu Nadaraja. When we have been trying to get a wider cross-section of speakers to participate in this forum, to bring about an understanding of various religions and to dispel the prejudices that we have in this world, especially the religious prejudice. So last week we had the youngest to present, and this time is the first time we have someone living in Sri Lanka, and also quite a young person. Dr. Prabu Nadaraja, I came to know about him through Facebook or whatever it is, that there are young people, Sri Lanka is a war-torn country. We had a lot of calamities, and in 2009 there was a big devastation, and since then the Tamil people in the northern east and also the other parts of Sri Lanka are struggling to rebuild their lives. And there are a few people like Prabu who has taken these responsibilities to not only they rise up and stand up and look after themselves, but also to give hope and support to others who are vulnerable. And I found that he started an organization called Swadi. That means footprint. Is that right? Footprint. Swadi organization, and through that organization, they try to help people in various ways. And one of them was teaching English to, in the remote areas of Sri Lanka. The education standard is very low, and there are not enough teachers and the like. So through internet, they were teaching English to many remote areas free of charge. And they have trained these people to do these things. And this is one of those things that I came to know, and then I talked to him and to his friends, and then in some of those teaching classes, I participated with Stalini. I don't know whether Stalini is still online or not, but she was one of the teachers. She was teaching. In addition to that, they have organic farm, climate activities, many other things doing. So I'm really glad, and I'm actually proud of Prabu, what he has been doing and how he has been, like many others, a role model for the young people there, and to give hope and support to those vulnerables. So I will call upon Prabu to talk now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your kind words and for this opportunity to talk among these people in this forum. So I would like to share my slides. So when I was asked to present my experiences, I chose this heading, Shaping Our Future Together. So before I go into the important matters that I would like to share with you, I just want to start with this reading. This is from the Mother's Agenda. So it clearly explains the nature-human relationship. You see, the human species is a part of nature. But as Sri Aurobindo has explained, from the moment mind expressed itself in man, it put him into a relationship with a nature very different from the relationship of all lower species have with her. All the lower species, right up to the man, are completely under the rule of nature. She makes them do whatever she wants, and they can do nothing without her consent. Whereas man begins to act and to live as an equal, not as an equal in terms of power, but from the standpoints of consciousness. He is not superior to her, far from it, but he is on an equal footing. And so he has acquired, this is the fact, he has acquired a certain power of independence that he immediately used to put himself under the influence of hostile forces. So this clearly illustrates or show the relationship, how the relationship between the man and the nature has turned into a different way. So I just want to stop there sharing, and I would like to talk about the triple crisis that we are facing, which is a global crisis, but in the sufferings are different for different people. So because of our relationship broken with our nature, so these crises are making our life harder. The climate crisis, the ecological crisis, and the health crisis, they all are interlinked. But we no longer see the links between them. So what shall we do? So I'm Prabu from Sri Lanka, a sinking island in the Indian Ocean. My town is surrounded by sea and connected to the mainland by a very small piece of land. I would like to connect these dots because we have to face it somehow. So so the health crisis, if we talk about the health crisis first, you know that millions have died from COVID, Ebola, West Nile fever, SARS, MERS, etc. Up to 75% of new diseases come from animals because of the way we farm and treat nature, cutting down forests and destroying habitats. So we are creating the perfect conditions for diseases to spill over from one animal to another and to us. The next pandemic could be even much, much worse than this, but we can change. How we can change? So before going into that, so I just want to describe about the ecological crisis. You know that 83% of the world agriculture land is now used to feed livestock. But the livestock only provides 18% of calories. The way we make food, raising animals to eat, clearing the land, and to grow food for the feeds, the animals, is all wrong. If we continue this, we will soon run out of land and food. The land requirements of the meat and dairy production industry is almost equal to the size of a Southern America combined. You know that you can imagine how much land is used for this. Actually, we have industrialized the life on Earth. If we keep making the food the way we do, we will also destroy the habitats of most of the wild animals and plants. driving countless species to extinction. So the loss of biodiversity is huge, and we must attend it as so early as possible. And the biodiversity is our life supporting system. If we lost them, we will be also lost too. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has said, that for a long time, we have been waging on a senseless and suicidal war on nature. So this is the state of the ecology. And now above all these problems, so the climate crisis, all the scientists are calling the humanity to act towards the climate crisis. Anymore, it is not a climate change, it is a climate emergency or climate crisis. We know that we need to cut down or drastically reduce our emissions as soon as possible. The agriculture and the land together is 1/4 of our emissions, much larger proportion from fossil fuels. This is huge. It doesn't have to be like this. If we change ourselves towards a plant-based diet, we could save up to 8 billion tons of carbon dioxide every single year. We could feed ourselves on much less land and nature could recover. Pandemics, loss of biodiversity, climate disruption, acidification of ocean, loss of fertile topsoil, all are symptoms. What they will come down is the way we treat the nature. We need a system change, but we have to fix it. We are part of nature. When we protect nature, we are the nature protecting itself. So this is what I call the triple crisis: the health crisis, ecological crisis, and the climate crisis. So we had to attend it. So before going into the final conclusion, so I just want to discuss about the cruelty of the animals, cruelty towards the animals. Every year we kill more than 6 billion animals, excluding fish, whose number is so great that we only measure by their weight. What about their thoughts and feelings? Some animals plans for the future, develop friendship which lasts for decades. They play, they help each other. They show the signs of what we call empathy. But 70% of animals we farm lives inside factories, not in their natural habitats. In US, this number is 99%. Their lives are short and terrible. How this will be judged is heartbreaking.
I think we have the internet is frozen.
Sorry.
Okay.
So I think I dropped when I talk about the animals. So that.
Yes. Yeah, you mentioned about the cruelty to animals. Yes.
So every year we kill more than 6 billion animals, excluding fish, because we only weigh the fish by weight. So they show the signs of empathy. They develop friendships with mankind, but that 70% of animal we farm lives inside factories, not in their natural habitat. In US, the number is 99%. Their lives are short and terrible. How this will be judged is heartbreaking, but this is also an opportunity for us. We know that what we can change. We can change the way we farm, and we can change what we eat. We can change how we can change the nature. Some of us have a lot of choices, while some have none at all. So those with the most power have most responsibility, but most of us can do something. So to understand better about this, I would like to share some readings with you. Let me share my slides. So what happened to humans? How to deal with it? So this is from Sri Aurobindo's book. So the mental capacity seems to have grown. Mental power seems to have developed. Men seem to be much more capable of playing with ideas, of having mental command over all principles. But at the same time, they have lost the simple, healthy honesty of people who lived closer to the nature and know less how to play with the ideas. Thus, humanity as a whole seem to have reached a very dangerous turning point. Those who are trying to find a solution to the general corruption advocate to return to a simplicity of former times. But of course, that is quite impossible. You cannot go back. We must go farther on. We must advance, climb greater heights, and go beyond the arid search of pleasure and personal wealth, not through fear of punishment, even punishment after death, but through the development of a new sense of beauty, a thirst for the truth and light, through understanding that is only by widening yourself, enlightening yourself, setting yourself ablaze with a passion for progress, that you can find both integral peace and enduring happiness. So we must rise up and widen where we can find our integral peace and enduring happiness. That's a message from Sri Aurobindo. I also want to share a piece from his Uttarapada speech. You may heard about this speech after he released from the prison. This is the first speech he delivered in India, so around 100 years before. So in his speech, he talked about the Leela of the goat. So the below mentioned are the words of the goat through his speech. I have shown you that I am everywhere and in all men and in all things, that I am in this movement, and I am not only working in those who are striving for the country or world, but I am working also in those who oppose them and stand in their path. I am working in everybody, and whatever men may think or do, they can do nothing but help in my purpose. They are also doing my work. They are not my enemies, but my instruments. In all your actions, you are moving forward without knowing which way you move. You mean to do one thing and you do another. You aim at a result and the efforts subserve one that is different or contrary. It is Shakti that gone forth and entered into the people. Since long ago, I have been preparing this uprising, and now the time has come, and it is I who will lead to its fulfillment. So these are the words of the Almighty God, comes through the words of the Sri Aurobindo in his Uttarapada speech. Then finally, I just want to conclude with this Sri Aurobindo's thought about the theory of evolution. In order to progress, nature destroys, while the divine consciousness stimulates growth and finally transforms. The divine alone can liberate us from the mechanism of universal nature. And this liberation is indispensable for the birth and development of a new race. So he believes that, as part of the evolution, so the dynamics are changing and the man will become a divine man. The man is transitional being. He is not final. The step from the man to Superman is the next approaching achievement in the earth evolution. It is inevitable because it is at once the intention of the inner spirit and the logic of the nature's process. So with all these insights, we shall understand the connections between the triple crisis, the health crisis, the ecological crisis, and climate crisis. And this will give us a clear insight for us to act towards it and to bring all the people together for a better life and a better future for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful. I have just heard about Aurobindo, but I never read anything. But you have quoted from Aurobindo that is in tune with what we have been doing and what most of us.
Is it okay to share your slides? Can you email your slides as well? We can.
Yes, definitely. I will.
Yes. Okay, and so friends, we can you can comment or discuss or question anything. You mentioned that the plants, animals, they interact with each other. Did you mention that? Yes. Yes. That's fascinating. Is there anything, I mean, scientifically shown? I mean, not among their own species, among the other species, like, for example, dogs and snakes, for example. Among the dogs, they may be playing, but dogs and other animals, or dogs and plants.
So even the trees themselves are communicating, they are talking. So that's why we encourage the young people who plant trees to plant mini forests rather than planting separate trees here and there, because it is found, and you know, that when one plant is going without much nutrition, so other plants through their root system, they are connecting and supporting it. When some trees are affected by the disease, so other other plants around them, they are supporting and they are giving the essential elements and nutrients to bring it back to the life. So this is a wonder of the nature, and it's an expression of the divinity, you know, that even which is the lowest living being in the world, that the trees. So, but still they have communicating and they live like a community. So we have to learn from that. And in the nature, we can see that all the animals lower than the humans are closely interacting, but they none of them are trying to take control over the other. So, but unfortunately, with the power that given by the nature, not by anyone else, by the God and the power, the man have the power, but not using it in the proper way. So, which is a turning point, and yeah. I would like to share a short film with you. I'll share the link here. It's in YouTube, so this is about the Auroville in Pondicherry, the city of dawn. So I think everyone can view this short film after.
Thank you. Yes, Sachi, Father Jagiswadi, Marina.
I like this talk Dr. gave. It was very closer to my views as nature. I believe nature is a God, it's a true God, or final one. So, and we are really on evolution tree, we are really actually connected. I think I really appreciate the talk, and I agree with him. But as a reality, we should understand about the creation. Then it is very easy to have what you call communication or relationship with others, even man to animals and to the plants. In fact, as doctor said, there are cases we have seen. Say in Tamil we call it tottachuringi. You just touch it, it is shy and shrinks all the way. These are examples. And if you see some orchids, they have their stigma and stamen shaped like a man's face or a monkey's face to repel the other things which are damaging them. So I have been always wondering, how did they know an animal face like that, say a plant, how can it sense? That I have not found the answer for that yet. It has to be made like that to repel the what do you call other insects or harmful things like that. So that is something, as like doctor said, there is some communication there which we have not found it or we are yet to discover. Anyway, thank you very much. I like that the talk, which was really related to nature. And I think finally we will end up there. Thank you, doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I choose this.
By the way, I know some of the animal relationships to man and all, because we have been dealing with animals and birds and everywhere in big farms and things like that. So I have seen the relationships and all that. We are all connected. That is true. Thank you very much. I'll leave the others.
I took this heading because on day after tomorrow, June 5th, the World Environment Day, and they're launching the decade for ecosystem restoration. So we all have to understand the importance of doing that. So that I thought that it's more relevant for this meeting.
Thank you. Jenny, Marina, Father
I
Jagus.
just want to ask Doctor, it was one of the introductions given about you was about Murunga farm, how you developed. What was the reason you only picked that as a farm instead of other plants? Was there anything connected to that? It's nothing to do with your presentation today, but I just want to know what was the reason.
Because Moringa is naturally growing in our part of the world, and after the end of the war, so the people, the malnutrition among the young people and the women is very, very high in places like Mullaitivu and other places. So to immediately supply the iron and other nutritious things, so Moringa is one good thing. So which they can incorporate into their home gardening. So we piloted a method to grow the moringa in a high density cultivation. So in a very small plot of land, even if you don't have much land, in a 10 feet to 10 feet land, so we can grow large amount of moringa leaves, so which is highly nutritious, and they can add that into their day-to-day food in the morning with the puttu and leaves in the sodhi and various other local food items. So that's one thing, but we also encourage them to develop forest-like gardens in their home surroundings when they have enough food. So they can get easily most of the crops without much spending money for it. So that's very, very much essential for rebuilding the nutritional status of our people, young people.
So basically, because it's highly very nutritional food. That's all right. Thank you.
For the benefit of Tracy and Jenny, and who don't understand what is moringa,
Sorry.
maybe I will ask either Prabhu or Sachi to explain what is moringa.
Better doctor can tell us.
You can show a picture of.
He's an expert. Maybe.
You can share a picture of.
Yeah.
Tracy, actually, this moringa plant is now grown a lot in Queensland area, and they do export, sort of send it to. That's right, that's the plant, and most of them use the leaves for a lot of things. I mean, there's the fruit or the veggie you can call is not that much used, but the leaf is used even for tea purposes, making tea. So you could find moringa tea or moringa leaves for the making dishes like a stir fry or something like that. So it's basically, it's got a lot of calcium and lot of, I think, magnesium and things in that.
It has got protein as well. I mean, here in Africa, where there are many places, the malnutrition, World Health Organization has recommended this moringa. It actually gives most of the nutrition that you need. It's highly packed, which we were not aware when we were in Sri Lanka. We just cook it without knowing its full value. Yes, so here now in Australia, and there are in the north, it is much more abundantly available, but here also we have trees here and there.
And you would cook it in it's like a stir fry, like a vegetable or something, would you?
The leaves, you can put it in the salad, or you can put it in any of the dishes that you cook. And the fruit or whatever, these long stem-like things.
Mm-hmm.
That's
drumsticks.
Yeah, we call drumstick because it's the shape like drum. This one, when it is young, tender, you can cut them into small pieces and split them, and then cook as like a cooked potato or eggplant or whatever it is. And it's also very nutritious. And the seed, the dried seed, and they say very good for diabetes. I'm not sure. I'm not a medical person, but it has very high medical and nutritional value. Very, very high.
And what does it taste like?
For us, it tastes yummy.
Curry.
Yes.
We make curry.
But I eat the leaves raw.
And also you can make tea, except for gastric problem, anything in the gastric problem also, they say it is good. Is that right, Prabu?
Yes. So now only a lot of people got to know the benefits of the leaves. So usually, traditionally, our people, mostly they eat the drumsticks, but use small amount of leaves. But as Rihanna said that in Africa, so they discovered the value of the leaves and also the flowers, and that all part of moringa can be used as a food, and it's very tasty.
And in Samoa also they are started growing this in the Pacific Islands. Fiji, Samoa, they have plenty. In Australia before they were importing from Fiji, but now they have in Townsville or North Queensland, they have plenty.
So
you can make one day for you, Murunga, you can come and taste it.
And Jenny too. Jenny
It's
also.
lot of chili.
There's a lot of iron content,
Yes.
vitamin A, and also good fiber.
Yes.
And you can, when you cook crabs, you can put it there.
Yeah, for taste.
Yeah, you can make sodi as well.
Yeah.
Moving from Moringa for the moment, Dr. Prabu, you were talking about creation and human beings. I prefer the word human to man. From the Bible perspective, the creation story is all about God created the earth and the sky, and the last creation was human beings. But we believe that the way it is written or believed to be from the time it was written was that man was not called to be in control of creation, but responsibility towards the creation, to take care of animals and the nature. That was the call. Genesis chapter 1, the whole chapter, up to chapter 2 as well. And so I like the way you said, men have equal footing in a way, because we are on the land, and we are, whether we like it or not, we are connected, interdependent, but we are not called to be in control or overpower and destroy the earth. That will be detrimental, because in return we are going to be affected, and that's what's happening now. And I like you talking about climate change in terms of climate crisis, because it is a crisis time. There was a time when we're talking about climate change, but as young people in the world now, including Australia, they have come out to talk about climate crisis. Do it now, do something about it now. And not just people with power, the governments and and the climate international cooperation, but individually everyone has to do something about it. I like that idea as well. So your research, what is the area of research? Could I ask you, please? You got your PhD in your doctoral studies, and what was the
Medical. He's a medical doctor.
He's a medical.
But you didn't do your.
Actually, my research interest is like the broader health policy, which accommodates the food policy and various other things like the health. So we have to focus much on the prevention rather than the curing. So for the prevention, we need a system change. We have to address the ecological crisis, and so many other things has to be connected with the health policy. That's my interest area.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the prevention is better than cure. So as a doctor, you are looking at ways of educating the people in such a way that they will be educated in the area of health, so that at the same time to educate them to look after the nature as well. My son, Edward, is an epidemiologist, and last year he finished his PhD in the area of environment that causes environmental changes that affects the low economic people, like you were saying, lower middle class, you said, but his way of looking at it, low economic people, and how the parity, the rich people can avoid a few things, but poor people are going to be affected by environmental changes. So we are linked My son is also in linked. So if you want to be connected, you can. He's lecturing in University of Sydney, and all these papers are there. If you Google him, Edward, my name, Jagasodi, and most of the papers. He came to Sri Lanka with a team to and produce a paper there as well. So I'm saying this not because my son is also in the research area, but I'm saying this because you can connect with Australian researchers, because there are people like my son who are epidemiologists concentrating on environment, how it affects. So because Western Sydney, where we live now, is we lived in eastern suburbs 5 months ago, which is the part of Australia. But now we are among the Western Sydney. Western Sydney is the area I work in. I work in Western Sydney because of refugee asylum seekers, but that's the area that is affected mostly. So that's why they support Labour Party and all that. So Australia is very aware of what is happening now, and there is a Uniting Church where I belong to is in the forefront of climate change, and the youth are participating. So you can get connected, and you might be a resource person for some of the things they are trying to research, because I come from Sri Lanka, I'm a Tamil as well, but because you are living in Sri Lanka, we are not a developing country anymore. We are an underdeveloped country, facing major crisis in every area. But you might be one of those people to tell about what you are doing and why you are doing it. Yeah, I'll send a message. Yeah,
definitely. It's a good opportunity for me to connect with a person who actually work in epidemiology, but also interested in environmental related things.
Yeah.
So definitely, because the current interest is like we are trying to improve the nutrition of the women by encouraging them to grow various kind of crops around their homestead. And in a way, it is also support the environment because it increases the biodiversity. It support the improvement of the local ecosystem. So I'm very much interested to talk to him, connect with him, and yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Though his first degree and first job is as a doctor, but because he finds that they are all integrated, so he is working in all areas, and also beyond that, social service and helping others is his passion. I'll share his this is in Tamil, so we may not be able. This is his organization that he started, Swadi, and so they do the education of online education for rural. Initially, it was mainly English, and then now because of the lockdown, people cannot go to school and things like that. So they started teaching everything, and so you can see they talk about nutrition, home gardening, and many things. So he, to me, he sacrificed his time and energy for the well-being of humanity. That's how I look at him.
Absolutely.
Jenny, Tracy, oh, Mano, my friend from UK.
Hello.
Have you met with Dr. Prabu Nadaraja? He just finished his talk and we were just talking about him. Mano is my batchmate, an engineer in UK. Did you see the Facebook that I was sharing, the Swadi?
Oh, right, okay.
That is his organization. If you have any questions, Tracy, Jenny, I don't know who else.
Thank you for your talk and thank you for your work you're doing. It's wonderful.
Tracy also do a lot of service with the indigenous people in Australia.
And she wrote the book called Sustainable Well-Being. Yes, sustainable well-being. So I think she is fully in agreement with Prabhu's idea.
Definitely.
I just want to make aware of another thing, that notwithstanding the fact that the most of the current environmental disaster is caused by human beings, it is also a function of the activity of the sun and the motion of the earth around the sun. The earth is tilted at an angle 23.5 degrees to its axis, and this angle is changing every year, decreasing. So like every 20,000 years, the climate is going to change and new lands will appear and existing land might disappear. This has happened before, and the places called deserts now have been very fertile lands before. So we must also, maybe it might take a long time, but 1 degree change in the temperature will cause a lot of ice to melt and everything. So that's what the Americans were saying before. There is a lot of truth behind it, and it's a fact. But we shouldn't add to that by doing extra disaster.
That's right.
So,
what is within human capacity, we should be able to do what is good for the whole ecosystem. Yes, nature's change we cannot help.
no,
Yeah, that's true. But all the pollution was not there before. All the plastics in the water, and for Sri Lanka now with that ship sinking with all the plastics on board. These type of things. It's not nature changing. It's really us dealing with whatever we can to reduce the air and the water pollution, as well as all the carbon situation. I think we can't just reduce it to carbon. We have to think of all the pollution. And then we have climate change refugees. How do we treat each other? When the thing we can't grow what we were able to grow in the past. This is another thing in the cycle. But anyway.
So now by promoting home gardening and giving them the knowledge and the facilities, the people, especially the people in Sri Lanka, the war-torn area, they are able to build their lives. That is one of the important things that they have been doing in collaboration with many other organizations. And there are few like Prabhu who are doing these things there. But this has to happen all over the world. That to see the how to relate to the nature, how to relate to our own human beings and the other species.
I have a question again, Dr. Prabu. It's about, I think you mentioned about the evolution of human beings or human minds. And then you mentioned the word superhuman as well. At some, and the hope that one day we will try to find solutions for ourselves or change of mind and heart. Can you say something more about it?
So the evolution from man to the Superman, or the evolution is a dynamic process, and it will continue. It has to continue. So the Sri Aurobindo says that with the current man, or the humanity, or the human is not the perfect person, but with building our consciousness, we can trial out things which is going to happen in the future, or we can experiment for a better mankind or better species than us. So in a way, he says that even ourselves can transform ourselves into more conscious and more connected people. So which is the first step towards the new race to come and develop. So that's why he built a city. So most of the people, what they do, the yogis, they go and they live a separate life away from the cities and villages. But Aurobindo would like to, and the mother would like to build a city where they practice all the day-to-day life activities, the farming, the building houses and manufacturing food and various things, but in a different way, with a more connected consciousness and understanding. So, for example, when someone asks mother to, whether are we going to use the pesticides and all these harmful chemicals, she said, no, because we should not, we are here experimenting for the future world, future generations to come. So we should avoid all the pesticides and we have to go with the organic farming. So like whatever the activities that we do, maybe in the education, we also have to find out new ways of education, because when someone asked Aurobindo, what are the principles of education, he said the first thing is that nothing cannot be learned through teaching. So we had to encourage people to learn themselves, so experience or through the experiences. So those are the things which is actually really happening in that place, but it has to go to wider places. It has to go to all over the world. Then I think we can find solutions. We can't find solutions with the old methodologies that we practiced. We have to innovate new ways to live in harmony with the nature and with all the living beings.
So will technology be part of that, or technology will be seen as something that could cause more problem, going away from nature?
I think the man, when he evolves, he can take the technology as part of that evolution. But if you say that, if you take the Auroville as an example, they are actively using different technologies, but not satisfied with the technical facilities that we have, but also with the deeper understanding, we have to use the technology as an instrument for the development of the mankind.
Yeah. Thanks.
This is the he sent a video link. I sent it on WhatsApp to the group. This is the video he was mentioning, right? Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah. If you switch it on, yeah.
Yeah. So here it says "City of the Dawn," a feature length. Here you see a documentary film produced by New Momentum for Human Unity explores Auroville, an experimental city in the southern India, created to realize what is possible when people live together in a community beyond the boundaries of nation, religion, race, policies, money, all that separates and divides. Here, citizens from 40 nations attempt to live lives of selfless service dedicated to the pursuit of human unity. So I have the copy, the link, I sent it in our WhatsApp group. Yeah, you can watch it leisurely because it is about 55 minutes. But we have to understand that human minds all over the world, they are striving to find ways of solving the problems and challenges that we face. And here there is a model they are trying to work out. To remove the boundaries and live as one community in one small town in southern India. That's magnificent. Yes.
Actually, it is so-called middle-class families or people who depend on day-to-day life, day-to-day earning, are the people who are going to suffer a lot and who are suffering at the moment. People living in villages doing cultivation, they have, every human being needs food first thing, and good air to breathe and shelter to live. So they have self-sufficient, they can carry on. But people who depend on the government doing some odd job, day-to-day jobs, and those are the people who live more in this world, and they are the people who are suffering, and they are the people who they are going to continue suffering. So they should find some ways of self-sufficiency to exist, not depending on the government, like in Sri Lanka. They print notes, millions and billions. So money has no value. You give 5,000 rupees for people to live in a month. What can you do with it? A coconut is about 100 rupees, but if you can grow a coconut tree, you can get your coconut. Simple things, but they need a land and a place to live and some sanitation. So these basic things should be given to, I mean, most of the people, or we should encourage them how to get around with it instead of depending on someone. As long as we depend on someone, we will still suffer. If someone is not doing well, then we don't do well. This is, I think, that is what is happening everywhere in India, Sri Lanka, even in England. The same everywhere. This pandemic has caused a lot of havoc among these people. And they have suffered a lot, and there is a backlog to clear as well. So what can we do? You might get another one, who knows? You see, to avoid this type of living.
Okay, so any other questions, comments? Otherwise,
Is that your brother?
yes, from Canada. Yes.
Ah, right, Canada.
Looks like him too. Could I? Sorry, I'm taking more time, but I just want to look at the spiritual side of it because we read those prayers earlier. According to the scripture the background I come from, we are a fallen race. We are a broken world, and that is sort of comes over and over again. And then at the end of the Bible, particularly Revelation, which we look at it in a different way, I don't go into it very much, but the essence of it is that there will be a new earth and a new heaven. And because the old earth will go away and the old heaven will go away or something like that. But the new earth and the new heaven will come into being. So that sort of resonates with what you are saying about superhuman beings. This is, I don't really believe in spiritualizing everything, because I believe in land, and that is land. In the Bible, anywhere it says land is a land where people are living, land exploited, land that have been conquered. And we talk about migration, refugees, and all that. I want to look at it realistically, not spiritualizing. But in this respect, you get that hope that one day there will be a new earth, a new heaven. And also in Australia, the indigenous people challenge us all the time that land is very precious. Land is part of our lives. And that's why they believe their ancestors are in the land. And that's why they oppose all the mining and because we have desecrated it. We, in the sense, Australian people who came and took over the land, didn't care for the land, whereas they say we cared for the land for 40 to 60,000 years. Yeah, I just want to mention that to you, Doctor.
I agree with what you said, like the land, which is so precious, even in the traditions of Indian continent, even in our people in Sri Lanka. So they preserve the land and they hand it over to their generations very carefully. But with the chemical farming and various other modern changes, so that has gone, that is degraded, and the topsoil of the world, which is available for farming, is reduced so much, and the building the soil again, or uh, rebuilding the soil is a greatest challenge that the agriculturists have. So I just want to share some experience I got from some of our recent program. And Andre Liu, you may heard that is a famous organic farmer from Australia, from Queensland. He participated in one of our webinar, and he said that we must focus on rebuilding the soil, which is the lifeline of all the living being in the world. So they promote that as a regenerative agriculture. So if you search on Google, Regeneration International, so he's the head of that institution, recently found he worked as a CEO of IFOM, International Federation of Organic Agriculture Movements, earlier, but now with these new institutions, he is actually promoting everywhere that the rebuilding our land, mainly the soil, topsoil, because it's a very tiny piece of soil which is now we have in our hand, but it is very essential for all the human beings and also living.
Thank you.
By the way, Father Jagasodi, before you joined, we played the video you sent.
Did you?
That the man on the
yeah,
scooter,
motorbike.
He was giving food to the needy people on the roadside.
Yeah.
He himself is a disabled person.
Very moving, very touching.
Yeah.
I send that to the theologians and lecturers and ministers of Sri Lanka. But they send the humanitarian stuff to me in their WhatsApp. So I thought this will be something that they can look at as well, because yeah, it's very touching, very challenging.
Okay. So if we have no more comments, we can close this meeting. And I thank Prabhu, really appreciate the work that you have been doing and serving humanity, and with your vision. Hope you will bring more of your kind in Sri Lanka and in the world, so that we can expedite this process of transformation of the whole world and solve this crisis that you were talking about.
Siva, just ask me last question, Prabhu. How do you finance your project?
Actually, the organic related activities, we met in a workshop, and we started working together as a small group over last 3 years. So it's all self-financed, mainly for the local activities, visiting farms. So the members, they themselves contribute small amounts, but only recently for structuring it as an institution and to do some work closely with other people. So we got some grants from the German embassy. So it's a micro project. So we just started in the early part of this year.
That's good. That's good. I suppose our group could have some connection with that type of the project itself. What do you say, Siva?
Yes, we should promote what they are doing and then give support to the people on the ground who are trying to help the people there. So we will consult and
consult.
find ways.
Most of the things that are done now, Dr. Prabu will agree, I think, are bandage work. Helping people is good, that's fine. But we keep doing, and I keep doing also. But the thing is to recreate the whole thing and rethink about things, and then people themselves to be experiential sort of lifestyle that they could not told what to do, but they themselves do. That type of thinking is different from bandage work that is being done.
I agree with you, because we need new institutions, new ways of living, because the tinkering of edges is not going to help anymore. So we have to have we have to understand the whole challenges and in the interconnectedness of all these challenges. And with that in mind, we have to create new institutions. And I'm happy that there are a lot of young people without much hierarchy in a flat institutions. They are working closely in all kind of challenges like education and environment, and in many areas they are working actively. So things will change soon, but it needs some time, but I think things will change very soon.
Thank
you. Without pest control, it's very, very difficult to retain our crops. Like I saw a document the other day about the rats in Australia, destroying so much of crops. So, well, if you talk about organic farming without pest control, it's very, very difficult. And if you carry on like that without pest control, we will not get any food to eat. So what is your idea behind it? But there are some certain ways of doing, but you can't control the whole pest without pest control.
In his presentation, he actually talked about it. It is a whole new way of thinking. The nature sometimes control things by itself, what is good for the universe itself. But the man has to think and act in a holistic way. I think using the nature and natural products, we can manage many of these things. But Prabhu, you can answer in a short.
So actually, our traditional farming is all organic by default, but now we talk about the organic farming by design, which is actually we got it from UK, the Soil Association. You may heard that, which is the ancient or the earliest promoters of organic farming. But for a certain amount, the European countries, they have been very successful in establishing an ecosystem which is self-functional and without minimal intervention. So it can produce food and whatever we want, even the materials for our clothing and things. So what I would like to mention is like, there is no direct alternative to the pesticide, or there is no alternative direct to the urea or something like that. But if we build a system which is self-sustaining, like a forest in the nature, so which can produce everything, you can the Soil Association is also promoting the permaculture and various other concepts. If we learn and understand the interconnectedness of the nature and the mystery of the nature, I think we can produce food without pesticides.
Yeah, because when you have the biodiversity, it actually self-regulates. When you have monoculture, which is the wheat industry in Australia, that's where the mice have been playing havoc because it's a monocrops. But when you have biodiversity, it's completely different, you know, and we do have to just rebuild the soil and all the microorganisms, you know, just as human health. Now we know we have the biome in the gut and on our skin and everywhere, which is so important for our health. The same with the soil, having all the proper bacteria and microorganisms, some of which we don't even know yet, but the soil knows, then that will that increases the nutrients even in the crops that are grown, so that people can get as much nutrients from eating less, but it's of a higher quality because, you know, and even like fermented food and everything, it's all sort of, it's the quality of food that our body can actually absorb and use, you know, which makes for health. And the same in the soil and the biodiversity. But anyway, I wish you well in your work.
Yeah, we wish you well. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate all that you're doing.
There was recently in Africa, this grasshoppers, how do you call it? Holocaust. Locusts, in billions. They multiplied like hell and then destroyed the whole farm, from one continent to another. And it was coming towards Nairobi and then finally stopped. And they have, well, when it does like that, it destroys the whole food cultivation for a year. So you have to have some pest control. You know, they multiply like anything. Certain favorable climate, and maybe it is linked to climate as well. But at home, I grow some plants, you know, and then pepper and everything. And then I find a lot of insects. They eat everything. They ended up spraying some use pesticide. But I tried this organic one like neem oil and various things. It didn't work. So, well, it's a simple, basic thing. This is a very difficult, I mean, organic farming. You might grow some, what is called genetically modified crops, which can withstand all this. And then again, people don't want to eat genetically modified crops. Like them. So there is, you have to come to a compromise as to how we are going to, we got to be very careful in this because we have to feed the world as well. You know, you see, poor countries, you know, it be cheap, not expensive. Organic foods are almost 3 times the price of normal food in the supermarket.
Yeah.
What we do in one part of the world has an effect in another part of the world, which we don't actually realize. Now, in his talk, Prabhu mentioned how much land is used for meat production, how animals are kept in a cruel form and things like that. We are oblivious of these things. They have effect in the other parts of this universe. Now, we are not actually identified all the forces working in unison in this universe. We have not actually unraveled them. But we know some of these, and we try to control that and say that this is the way to do it. So the holistic way of, I mean, that probably when you watch the video, probably you might get an idea how they are solving some of those problems that you mentioned. The locust coming, for example, the locust coming in billions had a cause. There was a reason for it somewhere else, somewhere before, which we don't know. So we have to understand that we have to work with the nature, with the natural forces that we aware of, and then some of the forces we are not aware of, but it is working. So that is a whole thing. But anyway, we can still go on talking. Probably we will, because it's already 2 hours since we started. So thank you, Mano, for
Thank you.
and you can Mano, you can give a presentation in one of these meetings.
Not really, no. I don't know much about it. It's just top of my head.
Anything that promotes unity, yes.
Yeah, that is good.
Thank you,
It's good
Tracy.
to
Thank
talk.
you. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Okay, then. Thank you, Prabhu, and
Thank you, Prabhu.
Father
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Sachi.
Marina.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, everyone.
Sachi, good night. Thank you.
Bye.
Stay safe.
Yes.
Please stay safe in Sri Lanka. Yeah.
And we pray for you all.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.